I honestly think if this was the only thing you did when you went to the driving range, you would be like a way better golfer by the end of the year, and you would take that out onto the golf course a lot more. What is the best way to practice to bring your driving range game to the golf course? I've been to the Belfry, Waterfront, and now we're at St Andrews Links to show you how you can use different driving range technologies to improve your golf game. So the first thing you want to do at every range session, and definitely before every time you go out on the golf course, is do a warm-up. This is just really important to get a feel for the club and also just get your body warmed up and get you to actually perform well when you want to. Now, I love hitting to different targets when I'm warming up rather than just beating balls in one direction, and also hitting different clubs. I like to move through the bags. I tend to use either the odd or even numbers in my bag depending on like the date of the day. Now you can see with the different options here, Toptracer has a full warm-up routine where it has different targets set out which matches target on the range. I really like this because you can just pull out different clubs and practice different distances that you might not necessarily do. So for example here at St Andrews I had some like 43-yard pitch shots to start with, and that's just like a really nice way to warm the body up. Now in terms of TrackMan, they don't have a specific warm-up function, but I just use the general practice facility, and again with this you do have different targets that you can hit to. So once you've warmed up, what you really want to do on the range is do some performance practice. Obviously a lot of the time we might go to the range just to practice our technique, and that's fine, but that's not necessarily bringing new skills to the golf course. So what I really like to do is kind of go through the bag, hit to different targets, and if you can do that in a test environment, that's even better. One reason I'm really keen on you changing targets all the time is because out on the golf course, very rarely do we hit straight down the line, maybe off the tee box, but even if we're hitting into dog legs, we're hitting off at different angles. So it's really getting used to hitting to different directions, orientating your body differently against the mat, and getting used to not just hitting straight shots down the range, because that's not what we do out on the golf course. So on TrackMan to test this, I used their bullseye game where you have different targets and you get different amount of points based on how near the pin you hit it. Now you can choose shorter or longer distances, and if you hit it closer to those pins that are further away, you get better points, because obviously you're more accurate with that longer club. Now when using Toptracer, I actually use their game called Toptracer 12, and this is like a through the bag challenge game. So you get 12 different shots, hence the name, all generally with different clubs or different distances, and it gives you like a strokes gained score versus your handicap for how well you're doing, and then gives you a handicap in terms of driving, approach play and pitching, which sometimes can be pretty brutal if you've not played well, I'm not gonna lie. Oops. Now, I really like this again because you hit into specific targets, but also you're hitting different clubs through your bag, and you can change the target throughout that so you can hit into different directions. I also think it really focuses you because you're getting a score at the end of it, and that's something that can be saved onto your profile, and each time you can go through and try and do a little bit better. I honestly think if this was the only thing you did when you went to the driving range, after warming up obviously, you would be like a way better golfer by the end of the year, and you would take that out onto the golf course a lot more. I think 12 balls is a really good amount to kind of focus you, and just the fact you're having to hit different shots through the bag, focus on distances and getting it near to the target, which is exactly what we do out on the golf course. It's completely different to just beating 7-irons down in the middle of the range, hoping your swing looks nice on camera and then thinking you're going to play better out on the golf course. There also is a 30 ball version of this. This is quite a bit longer, so I think you would only do this if you're super focused and you have kind of a little bit longer to practice that day. And I would recommend if you're doing it with that one, make sure you're doing full pre-shot routines without and having a little break just to make sure that you don't kind of get out of your routine and start beating the balls too much. Now there's also longest drive features on both of these, which I think are good if you're someone who maybe has got out of the swing of things a little bit in the winter, hasn't really ramped themselves back up to full speed. It's really good to challenge yourself in these and just see how far you can get the golf ball to go, just trying to get you back into that kind of full hitting mode for out on the golf course. Now the cool thing within these is both TrackMan and Toptracer offer leaderboards. You can see how you're getting on against your mates, you can maybe challenge them, or you can also see how different people have done at the driving range that week. Come on, we've got to have a... Now, the biggest thing that I think is really great with these technologies is being able to play golf courses. And a lot of them actually offer the golf course you play at, which is a great way to go in and warm up for your session, get ready for your competition. So a good thing is just to get into that routine of hitting different clubs in order of what you'd actually hit out on the golf course, rather than just hitting blocks of maybe driver or 7-iron, and also getting used to hitting to the pin and changing your target relative to the pin. So if you know the pin's back left, you might want to play a short right of it. You can move the screen around to aim where you want to. So you're kind of hitting the shapes that you want to hit out on the golf course rather than necessarily just hitting straight shots down the driving range. Now, both TrackMan and Toptracer do this slightly differently because obviously you can't putt at the driving range. So TrackMan will just give you a score for the hole based on how close you hit your approach shot, whereas with Toptracer you actually get to hit a pitch shot for your putt, which I actually really like just because it gets you hitting more pitch shots, which is definitely something people could be doing more of out on the driving range to get us pitching it better and knowing our distance control when we get out on the golf course. Nightmare. I also think it's kind of a little bit fairer because you're just getting that third shot to give you your score. So if you pitch it really good, you're going to get a better score. Now, the last thing I love specifically about Toptracer is you can sync this up with your coach, so they can set an account up, and say you go for a golf lesson and you're not very good at, for example, pitching that week, they can set you a challenge. So it really helps you kind of bring the golf lesson, your practice and the tournaments all together to improve your score. So your coach can say, right, you specifically need to work on this. You can then do it at the driving range. It'll send it back to them. They can see how you're getting on and maybe give you some more tweaks to improve. They can also do this relative to which golf course you're going to. So if you know you're going somewhere for a competition or for a holiday with your friends, you can really dial in where you're going to play and get your game ready for that. So overall, I think you can see from this, if you're going to the driving range without technology, you're really losing out in terms of your practice. And I think if you have one near you and available to you, it's really worth going down, maybe driving a little bit further just to make your practice more productive. Now, there's loads of key points we've gone through here, such as not beating balls, doing different challenges, and I hope you really make sure to focus on them and bring kind of that driving range skill out to the golf course. For me, practicing pitching and approach games has massively helped my performance out on the golf course so far this year compared to just technical practice. And for that reason, I just love the Toptracer 12 and the Toptracer 30 games because they really focus me, and I'm a massive nerd, so I just love the strokes gain data it gives me. So if I was picking between the two, I probably would sneak towards the Toptracer one, just because I think those games are so good. And I love the fact I can connect it to my coach, get some tips that kind of link my lessons, my practice, and my golf course together. So get down to a technology range, get some better practice in, and get some good scores in this summer.